What is up, everyone? We are live. Let me know if you hear me. I'm excited to catch up on all the things, especially all the new DC stuff. But just want to make sure you guys can hear me. Setting things up, still getting used to this streaming setup. Sadly, I am not Kai Cenat, so I have to learn these things. What is up? But yeah, let's just see. Live, move some things around. There you go. Yeah, I see no one's in the chat right now, but exciting. There's some cool stuff. James Gunn recently did a Rolling Stone interview that revealed a lot about the DC universe. Fascinating stuff, some stuff we already knew, some stuff that has been revealed, like the Batman and Wonder Woman problem. I did not get to go to my shop today, so we won't be talking about new comic books, but definitely going to talk about Absolute Bane, even though we talked about it last week, but I had to reread that issue, and I'm excited for the next issue because Absolute Batman has been insane. Keith, what's good? Do you guys hear me? Just want to make sure that the mic is working. On my end, it looks like it's working, but you just never know. And if you guys haven't, just please, in the description, the Discord's there. Join there. That's where I post updates. Thank you, Untitled. I did not know you were always watching over me. I appreciate that. Yes, Absolute Batman has been so peak. It's been like, it's tough. Like, there's days where it's like my favorite Absolute book, and then there's days where I'm like, man, Absolute Green Lantern or Absolute Martian Manhunter. There's so many good Absolute books right now. Like, it's kind of crazy that Absolute Flash is kind of at the bottom of my list, but that doesn't mean it's a bad book. It's just like all the other Absolute books are so like at an 11, and even those, it's like ask me on a certain day is going to be a different book every day. But yeah, we're just going to go through some things. That particular James Gunn article, and then also talk about Clayface. The actor was cast in that, and it looks like it is going to be a DCU movie set in the universe. So the version that we saw in Creature Commandos is kind of going to be the version that we see in that Clayface movie, which will be interesting. It was played by a different actor. You will smite me for bad opinions. I please don't. Please don't. I like to think I have well-informed opinions, or at least I can defend my opinion. So appreciate that, but please don't smite me. But yes, let's go through this article. Exciting stuff. DC Studios co-CEO goes deep on his high-stakes take on the Man of Steel, the future of his new DC universe, and how getting fired helped him feel loved. So if you don't know, James Gunn actually started at DC because he was fired off Guardians of the Galaxy, so we almost never saw a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 directed by James Gunn. So that's how we got the Suicide Squad. Also, at that time, DC and Warner Brothers had offered him Superman and then some version of it, I think a Batman movie as well. But he wanted to do Suicide Squad. He did that, and then afterwards, he became the co-CEO of DC Studios alongside Peter Safran. And that's how we got to this moment right here. Only, I mean, less than 20 days, maybe something like that, till we see the Superman movie. And I'm super hyped. The hype machine is really like ramping up for the movie. Like, the marketing is insane. I know a lot of people were like really critical because the trailer took forever to come out, but then it came out and it was amazing. And now every day there's a new Superman thing that I see online, and it's probably the best marketing I've seen for a movie in quite a long time. Simple J, what's good? Appreciate you jumping in as soon as you saw the notification. I know live shows are always tough to join in and, you know, show your support in the chat. So I appreciate it. Anytime people show up and want to spend their time with me. It's going to be a shorter show today just because I didn't get any of my new books. I had to pick up my son early from school today. I will go into exile if Superman is bad. Yes, so would I. If Superman is bad, and I've said this multiple times, like whether it be on live or in one of my many videos that I've made, I just cannot do another 10 years of of DC in disarray, I think at that point I'll probably just give up and be like, hey, like I'm a Batman fan. I'll fully go into like manga and anime. I think I'll need to like rebrand this channel and just stop talking about DC comics in general, just because like yeah, that I just can't. If Superman is bad, I will be in denial. You know what's funny? And I'll talk about, I know we were supposed to talk about the article, but funny enough, when I remember, like, at this point, Man of Steel was 12 years ago, 2013, 2014, whenever that was. I went to a midnight showing of that movie. And not that I think Man of Steel is bad, but when I walked out of it, and I'm a big Dark Knight fan, so like I knew when I walked out of that movie, my life had changed. Like this was like the greatest superhero movie at the time. I walked out of Man of Steel, and there was something about that movie that I just like didn't sit right, and I felt like I was in denial. I was like, like yeah, there were some really good parts, and then that ending, like again, whether you feel like he should have killed Zod or not, but like there was just so much about that movie. And years later, watching it now as a parent, like the sort of like final battle in Metropolis is like horrific when you think about it. Like it's too real. Like all those buildings coming down, the destruction and all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to watch now. I guess maybe because I'm older and I have a kid, but yeah, like when I walked out of that movie, I was kind of in denial. And then a couple months, I think a month or a year later, that's when at San Diego Comic Con, Zach announced Batman versus Superman. So I was like, oh, forget Man of Steel. Like they're gonna fix this in Batman versus Superman. And then Batman versus Superman, I also was in denial about that. Batman versus Superman is probably one of the like superhero movies I've seen the most, because there are days I love it and then there's days I hate it. And I think that's kind of like the problem with like the Snyder movies, is that there's pieces of them that are like amazing, and then there's pieces of it where you're like, why would you do that? And that's what makes that so tough, because you're like, you don't want to throw away the whole thing. And also they're some of the best looking superhero movies ever. But like the denial piece, I remember like now that you said that, like Keith, I was like, wait, I remember that feeling when I left Man of Steel. I got out of school early to see Man of Steel. That's awesome. Like I think I was in like my first or second year of college or something like that when they came out. When when midnight screenings were still a thing. Now like the early screenings, you could go at like 3 p.m. and stuff like that. Yeah, it lacked hope, and then also too like it just feels like a sci-fi movie, which is a good thing. I mean, it's a different take and all that kind of stuff. But I think sort of the problem, and even with Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was like 4 hours long, and I really love that movie. Um, we never really see Superman be Superman in three movies, which is kind of crazy. And I get that, like, that's what Zach was building towards. Like, hey, like, he had to sort of be resurrected and go through this hero's journey to become, like, the Man of Steel that we all know and love. And that's kind of like the way Zach approaches superheroes, where he deconstructs them and all that kind of stuff. And I get what the end point was. But when you have three movies that were all, like, if you watch the ultimate cut of BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League, that's like 10 hours of movie that you never really see Superman be Superman. And I think that was kind of the issue, and it kind of sucks because Cavill was such a good like fit for that role, and we will never get to see sort of him embody that piece of Superman. But let's get back to this article, because now we do have a hopeful Superman. And I think James, DC Studios, Warner Brothers Discovery have really nailed it with the marketing. And I was going to make a video about this. Like, they've really nailed that people need sort of Superman to be hopeful. And they make it feel like, even though this movie is fantastical, has sci-fi, is set in a DC universe where superheroes have existed for over 300 years, like there's a nature of like, hey, like he feels real, for the first time, like in a long time, like since those Christopher Reeve movies. Keith, appreciate you. Thank you. Like, appreciate you with the 5. Like, that is insane. That is only the second super chat I've ever gotten. I'll definitely be, when you go live, even if I'm at work, I'll try to pop in to the chat and stuff like that. So appreciate that. Like, I can't wait to see what you do in the YouTube space. And it's great that we both hit 3K around the same time. And keep it up with the shorts. Like, I really love what you do there. Like, especially when like YouTube comic shorts like has been infested with like AI voiceover and all that. It feels good to hear someone like have their own voice and their own opinion about these books. So shout out to you, Keith. Thank you. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. And again, they've been doing great work in terms of the marketing. It's really like a big piece. This is like, I don't know how many words this is. But he talks about Supergirl, talks about the focuses, some of the challenges around creating this new DC universe. And there's things I'm really happy about, things I'm a little disappointed about. But it seems like, he said his biggest priority and his biggest problem right now is integrating Batman and Wonder Woman to the DCU, which is good because I think that has been a big criticism for anyone who's been watching sort of the slate come along. You're like, we know Batman Brave and the Bold has been announced, but there hasn't been any real movement on that. The Batman 2 has also been delayed. And then you also have the fact that Wonder Woman, even though he has said that is being written, like we don't know who the writer is on that, doesn't have a filmmaker attached. And the next movie in the DCU is Supergirl. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the fact that like Supergirl and also, Clayface, who just got cast, those two characters get a movie before Supergirl and Batman is a weird way to start building your universe. But I mean, some people would have said Marvel was crazy for, starting with Iron Man. So hopefully this is the right approach. I do like that this DC universe is already fulfilled. Like, you don't need to see the origin of it. But there are things that, like, hey, just because I'm excited about it doesn't mean it's above, like, criticism, or there aren't things I hope that they had done. And to be honest, like, as an audience member, there is something to be said about being surprised, being given something you think you don't want, and then sort of seeing it. Like, I would never have thought I would have wanted to see a Clayface movie. But, hey, written by Mike Flanagan, it's going to focus on sort of like that version of the character that appeared in the Batman animated series. So like that as a kid was such an iconic episode, and what made that series so special, the way they were able to like reinvent certain characters. So, if they're able to get the budget right and all that, like, why not make a Clayface movie? Like, as long as it doesn't cost $300 million, which it won't, I think it's kind of like a perfect approach. You could kind of like bring Blumhouse to like the DC universe and superhero movies, which Blumhouse themselves, or Blumhouse, sorry, has been trying to do with like Spawn for the past couple years, but they haven't quite cracked that movie. But yeah, a lot of good stuff in this article. I think if you are excited about the DC universe, you should read it because it really kind of dives into a lot of different aspects of it. James's headspace, his approach. He says he doesn't feel the pressure of Superman has to be this $2 billion movie so that the DC universe can succeed. I think we all know it kind of has to be really successful. Not $2 billion, but it has to be successful for these things to keep rolling. And I'd imagine that, like, if that movie is, crosses $150 million at the box office that weekend and is a huge success, we'll probably get an announcement about what's happening with Batman and Wonder Woman probably that Monday. Or, he'll tweet about it through a thread, or maybe there's a post-credit scene in the movie. So I think that is really important to what we're going to see in the DC universe. And also, see what they're going to do and what Zaslav has planned for that DC universe. But some other news. Again, Clayface was cast, and it's Tom Reese. I have not seen them in anything. Like, I am not familiar with their work. But I am semi excited about the aspect of like, hey, like Clayface from Batman the Animated Series. They were in The Gentleman, but I feel like I maybe they had a haircut or I just don't remember. I really love The Gentleman show, but I don't know who they were. Or maybe it was actually The Gentleman like movie. Like I love both, so like if they're in the series of the movie, I just don't remember them. But big deal for them. They're now sort of like the face of a movie in the DC universe. And I'd imagine just because like he doesn't have like a big name, that's why the budget will probably be a little bit lower and sort of like lean into sort of the horror aspect of it. The director, what's his name? James Watkins. He did Speak No Evil, so sort of in that space, that horror space. I wonder, is going to be shot in Warner Brothers Leavesden studio in the UK, so this will probably be our first real look at Gotham. Batman might appear. We'll see. I don't think they're going to be in it in a big capacity, like especially, if they want Batman to sort of be a big draw. Like you can't have him in this and the Batman Part 2 and then Batman Brave and the Bold and then World's Finest. Like I do think they kind of have to like, put him in things where it's important. But which one? I think it was like Matt Hagen, that the version of Clayface. There's been many Clayfaces in the comics. I think that's the one they're going for. And then season 2 of Peacemaker is this summer, and you have San Diego Comic-Con. So we don't know that there's going to be a big panel. But again, if Superman is a huge success, there's a lot more we're going to learn about the DC universe in Peacemaker season 2, and also potentially at at San Diego Comic-Con this summer. But yeah. And I think like with the DC universe, the DCU, the cinematic universe, they're really focusing kind of like on like anti-heroes and villains. Like we already have Lobo. The Lantern show is going to have Sinestro, potentially a version of Atrocitus, the Black Hand. Superman the movie has Lex Luthor, Ultraman. Like there's so many like villains in this, which is kind of cool, And I think sort of a problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they focus so much on the big bad that like a lot of villains that are actually pretty good and interesting die along the way. They'll kill them in one movie, and they're not sort of like those people that hang around, like a Loki, who I think sort of like, if you look at it, they had fantastic shows. They were in the Avengers movies, the Thor movies, and they just haven't done that to build other villains. And I'm excited about the DCU potentially doing that with Lex Luthor, with other characters like Lobo, Clayface. Clayface would have been in Creature Commandos, and then also in his own movie. And then like it's cool to kind of have that history. I always appreciated that. Like when you see like when you play the Spider-Man games or you read Spider-Man comics or Batman or Flash, like when they interact with their rogues gallery, like they have a history versus like, hey, the first time we meet, you die in a tragic accident after I save you and you've been redeemed. Like I really don't like that. Sometimes it works, but particularly in superhero movies, I think they have actually sort of held them back in terms of the stories that they can tell, and that's what was sort of like the appeal of the Disney Plus expansion of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But even that was just like, hey, we're actually not going to do that. We're going to do the same thing we were doing in the movies, but spend a bunch of money, stretch what is essentially an hour and a half story into 6 episodes or 8 episodes, and hope you don't notice. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about this week. Like, it's a really short live show, but I've sort of committed to really doing this on a weekly basis. Again, I did not pick up my books, so I don't have much to talk about, and I'm actually really excited because Exquisite Corpses #2 comes out this week. The Ultimates 13, I think Flash, Absolute Flash issue 4. So there's a bunch of books that are actually like waiting for me, and I feel like if I open League of Comic Geeks on this live, like I'm gonna be upset that I wasn't able to make it. So hopefully next week I'll actually have more to talk about. But I appreciate you all for coming in, especially you, Keith. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you all for really making this channel possible. We just hit 3K. Tomorrow I should be announcing the new winner of the giveaway. Black Joker sadly did not step up to claim their prize. So I'll announce a new winner. Hopefully we get them to claim the prize and I could get them that to them as soon as possible. So I appreciate you all.